air, online and on smartphone. This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
Welcome to News Hour from the BBC World Service. I'm Sean Lay.
The return of Tariq Rahman, the homecoming, has become a symbol of democracy, sovereignty. The party wants to end the cycle of vendetta and create a culture of accountability.
Some see Tariq Rahman as Bangladesh's political saviour. Others worry about his nickname, the Dark Prince. I'll be asking one of his advisors how you would govern a divided nation. Pope Leo has delivered the first Christmas homily of his pontificate.
Increasingly, the Catholic Church is not a Western institution, but a Southern one. And what does it mean then, and how important is it that there is a Pope that brings that perspective?
And later...
I'm James Kamarasamy. Join me as I put Sean through his paces alongside Tim Franks, Rebecca Kesby and James Menendez in the annual News Hour quiz. How much of 2025's news will they be able to recall? How much will you? Find out in the second half of the programme.
BBC News, I'm John Shea. The Ukrainian military says it struck one of Russia's key oil refineries in the southern region of Rostov with cruise missiles. Posts on social media showed a huge cloud of smoke over the town. Samir Hussein reports from Kiev.
In the town of Novoshakhtinsk, residents said they could hear multiple explosions. This particular oil refinery near the Ukrainian border is critical for supplying fuel for Russian military operations in eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainian military said it used the British-supplied long-range Storm Shadow missile in this attack. Russian refining capabilities are often a target by Ukraine to undermine Moscow's ability to finance the war.
In Kiev, President Zelensky says he's had an hour-long conversation with President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner on how to end the war. Mr. Zelensky said the talks were good and they discussed some new ideas and timelines. The Israeli military has said it's killed a senior member of Iran's powerful Quds force in Lebanon. Our Global Affairs correspondent Sebastian Usher has more details.
The Israeli military has posted footage of the strike in the Ansariya region in southern Lebanon. The IDF said the target of the attack, whom it identified as Hussein Mahmoud Mashad al-Jahari, had been a key member of the operational unit of the Quds Force, which it said had been planning attacks in recent years against Israel from Lebanon and Syria. The Quds Force is the overseas arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guards and has played a significant role in many regional conflicts from Syria to Yemen.
Polls have closed in municipal elections in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, the first in more than 50 years. The largely peaceful vote is being seen as a test run for national elections next year. There was a high security presence amid fears of attacks by the militant group Al-Shabaab. Farah Laman reports.
The election took place under tight security with the city on lockdown. There were 1,600 candidates contesting 390 local council seats in Mogadishu. Although opposition parties choose not to participate, local observers say the vote was free, fair and peaceful. This is considered a significant milestone for the country's future politics and signals the end of clan-based politics. Analysts view this vote as a crucial test for the next year's presidential election.
Pope Leo has used 2 Christmas Day addresses to call for peace and to denounce war, singling out the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the humanitarian situation in Gaza. In his Urbi et Orbi message on St. Peter's Square, Leo said Moscow and Kiev should have what he called the courage to hold direct talks. Earlier in St. Peter's Basilica, he said the world should be mindful of Gaza, where tents were exposed to rain, wind and cold. This is the latest world news from the BBC. Christian and human rights organisations have expressed alarm over alleged attempts by Hindu extremist groups to disrupt Christmas celebrations in India. The Catholic Bishops' Conference said it had recorded several incidents involving the harassment of carol singers and church congregations. Our Global Affairs reporter Anbarasan Ithirajan has more details.
In the latest incident, videos on social media showed a group of men vandalizing Christmas decorations in Raipur, the capital of Chhattisgarh state in central India. In the southern state of Kerala, a man from a Hindu right-wing group allegedly attacked and destroyed the musical instruments being used by a group of children in a carol procession. Hindu right-wing groups accuse Christian missionaries of attempting religious conversions.
The former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, has endorsed his son Flavio for a presidential bid in 2026. His endorsement letter was read out by Flavio in front of a hospital in the city of Brasilia, where Jair Bolsonaro underwent a scheduled hernia operation earlier today. It's the former president's first public message in several months. He was allowed to leave the prison temporarily, where he's serving a 27-year sentence for plotting a coup. Mr. Bolsonaro argues that he's a victim of political persecution. The Russian energy company Gazprom says that it supplied China with nearly 39 billion cubic meters of natural gas through its Siberia pipeline this year. It's an increase of almost 28% on last year's supply. Russia began pumping natural gas to China from eastern Siberia in late 2019. The French President Emmanuel Macron's office says he's fully engaged in securing the release of the French researcher Laurent Vinatier. Mr. Vinatier was sentenced to 3 years in prison for not declaring himself a foreign agent. He was working in Russia for a Swiss conflict resolution organization. France says Mr. Vinatier was being held in Russia arbitrarily. BBC News.
Hello to you. Welcome to News Hour from the BBC World Service. We're coming to you live from London. I'm Sean Lay. And in the second half of this hour, James Menendez shows me the ropes in my inaugural appearance on the annual News Hour quiz.
James and Sean.
Alternative for Deutschland.
It is indeed. AfD, Alternative for Germany. He's off. He's out of the blocks. Sean Lay.
We are allowed to consult, by the way.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were all in it for ourselves.
We're a team.
It is collegiate.
It's usually we're already in it for ourselves.
Exactly.
See, I got the wrong end of the stick straight off there. Hopefully things get better. Now, in Bangladesh, the jostling for power has begun. Ahead of February's general election, Tariq Rahman returned home Thursday after 17 years in exile.
It's impossible to put into words the feeling of seeing him in person after a long 17 years. We are overwhelmed with emotion. You can see everyone has come out to the field with placards, banners and caps.
Tariq Rahman is the scion of one of the two families to have dominated the country's politics for decades. He was imprisoned by the now ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and claims to have been tortured. Indeed, he left the country in exile in a wheelchair. But he in turn has been accused of amassing power and money when his mother, Khalida Zia, was Prime Minister. Zia is ill in hospital and thought unlikely ever to return to power. Hasina was overthrown last year and, having been convicted in absentia of crimes against humanity, would be arrested if she tried to re-enter Bangladesh. So February's general election will be a battle of the coming generation. At a rally involving thousands of his supporters, Mr. Rahman spoke of creating an inclusive society, saying he wanted greater social cohesion.
We have to ensure that we maintain peace and security in this country at any price. We have to prevent chaos at any price, so that people from all backgrounds can live safely and securely, regardless of our religion, class, party affiliation.
While the BBC's Amber Hassan Etharajan has been considering the potential impact of Mr. Rahman's return.
His return is seen as filling a political vacuum in Bangladesh that has been going through a turmoil for the last 14 months since the ouster of the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who was criticized for running the country with an iron fist and authoritarian rule. Now, he's come from a political dynasty. His mother was the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and his father was also leading the country in the 70s after a military coup, a general, and he took part in the country's liberation war in 71. So he comes from a very distinguished family, and he has been living in London since 2008 after facing corruption charges. And when BNP was in power, his party was in power between 2001 and 6, and there were allegations of corruption, nepotism, and him behaving like an extra constitutional authority. And then after a military-backed caretaker government took over in 2007, there were lots of cases against him. And then he left the country, and now he's returning back. So it's a huge moment for Bangladesh Nationalist Party.
As Amber Hassan Etharajan, well, I've been talking to one of Tariq Rahman's key advisors, Marty Ahmed, and I asked him how important today had been for his party.
The return of Tariq Rahman, the homecoming, has become a symbol of democracy, sovereignty, independence of the country, and the people embrace so passionately. And this has been a historic moment for Bangladesh in a landmark gathering that we have seen today.
This has been a very difficult period for your country and for your countrymen. And there are those who will say that one of the problems was that the country was effectively run by two powerful political families and the parties that they led, and that actually the scion of one of those political dynasties returning is not necessarily good news for the future of politics in Bangladesh, because it does not represent the complete break with the past that arguably needed.
It's about the support from the people, and the BNP believes that the root of the power should stem from the people, and it remains the most popular political party, the largest political party, and we have seen the BNP leading the pro-democracy movement against the authoritarian regime for 16 years and have suffered the most. But we stood firm for establishing democracy. BNP firmly believes that for the Bangladesh that we all envision, it has to be a reflection of the aspiration of the common people, and that should foster the democratic fundamentals through good governance, through a rules-based society where we can ensure fairness, equality and justice for all people, giving the youth, the women, the equal opportunity. And Tariq Rahman embodies that aspiration.
The trouble is, when people look at the history of your country and even the history of Prime Minister Zair's government and the role that Mr. Rahman played as a close family member and advisor, they don't see that tradition. Let me put to you what the former US Ambassador James Moriarty said of Mr. Rahman. He said he is a somewhat practical government on violent politics in Bangladesh, flagrantly and frequently demanding bribes in exchange for government contracts, appointments and legal relief when his mother was in office.
You see, even after a decade and a half, all these arguments and the narratives, the allegations remain unfounded. No proof, no evidence was found over a decade and a half.
Forgive me for interrupting. These are comments from the US Ambassador. Why would he say these things if he didn't believe they were true?
These are secondary materials, though. This is not a primary observation coming from various media articles. At a time when BNP government was in power, probably he gave this statement based on some information that could be misguided, because we saw that there are some reports, there's some articles in media at that time that had those similar statements. So probably the secondary data, secondary information came from there.
Right. I mean, you would accept that he faced dozens and dozens of legal cases when he was still in Bangladesh.
It's political vengeance. Tariq Rahman himself was always a victim of political vengeance, and of course the party wants to end the cycle of that vendetta. The revenge politics must end, and rather we should create a culture of accountability. We need to end that culture of impunity and come up with a culture of transparency.
What will Tariq Rahman offer the people of Bangladesh?
Tariq Rahman remains the only leader right now in Bangladesh who has concrete sector-wise plans for every sector. What are you going to do? How are you going to change the face of the country? How are you going to change the fate of the people? He has already launched Farmers' Cut scheme for all the farmers, where we can provide state subsidy directly to all the farmers for their banking and insurance support, technological and technical support. Tariq Rahman has already announced a family cut scheme for mothers of every household, offering them financial benefit of food items every month, state benefit. In education sector, he has announced a third language, which will be military, integration of sports, culture, and ethics in the curriculum. He envisions a healthcare policy where the rural-based public healthcare will be more decentralized. The main vision that revolves around the employment and empowerment of the youth, of the women, for public sector jobs, for private sector jobs, for jobs abroad, to foster entrepreneurship. So a rules-based society where there will be less red tape and more accountability. These are plans that we believe if we form the government, we'll be able to apply and we'll be able to implement for the good of the country, where we can truly change where we stand now and make an inclusive development process where people of all classes, all backgrounds, all professions will ensure and enjoy that fairness and equality that we all want.
That's Mehdi Amin, advisor to the BNP politician in Bangladesh, Tariq Rahman. Now let's go to Australia, where last week a 27-year-old American student arrived at an airport where she was greeted by a man she'd never met before with these words: "You saved my life."
Saved my life. Oh. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
This is my family.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
That was recorded by a news crew from the ABC. Gennaro Arapanese, a father of 3 from Perth, who's lived with acute myeloid leukemia for years, was saying thank you to the bone marrow donor, Cassidy Feeney, as she flew in to spend Christmas with Gennaro and his family. NewsHour's Tim Franks has been speaking to both of them. First, Gennaro, when did his search for a donor begin?
I was first diagnosed in 2015 and I went into remission and I relapsed in 2019, and the only cure from that point was to get a bone marrow transplant. So the hunt began to find the match, and we found Cassidy all the way on the other side of the world. He turned out to be a 12 out of 12 perfect match for me.
And just for those who don't necessarily know, but 12 out of 12 just means she could not be a more perfect match.
Correct.
And Cassidy, tell me how you were even on the registry.
I joined the registry when I was a freshman in college. I was in a sorority and we got some points if we signed up. It was pretty common for most of the younger incoming freshmen to sign up. In the US, it was just a simple, cheap swab, and they sent it off, and that was it.
So how many years later was it that you then were notified that there was somebody who you matched with who needed your bone marrow?
It was about 3 years later.
And when you got the news, can I ask what you thought?
Honestly, at first I thought it was a scam. I was working, so I had a voicemail. I called my mom. I was like, is this real? And yeah, I called them back and started the process of additional testing. They call and let you know that you're a potential match. And then you go in and do some blood work, and then it's kind of a waiting game to see if you are the best match.
I've seen the footage of when Gennaro met you at the airport, and, you know, he said to you, you saved my life.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I was telling them, you saved a life, you're a hero, anything along those lines. And back then it kind of was, just words. I knew that I had donated and it went on to someone, and hopefully it was going to save their life. But meeting them in person and meeting his family and his kids and his wife just really has hit home that I did save a life. And they get to keep making these amazing memories, and now I get to be a part of it as well.
It is a stunning story. Gennaro, when did you decide that you wanted to bring Cassidy over for Christmas?
Oh, look, the moment we made contact January this year, we knew that we were going to meet one day, and I think it was probably only 3 to 4 months ago where we made the decision to tee it all up. It's been the most amazing, special Christmas that I'll ever have.
I'm sure it will be, and I'm delighted to hear that it has been so far. And in terms of you and your health, how are you?
Yep, tickety-boo. I've got some of the best bone marrow in my system now. Couldn't have come from a better source. So my health is 100% cancer-free and technically cured.
Cassidy, just if I can finish with you, I was reading that there is also, very sadly, there's quite a big dropout rate, even for those people who are positively matched. What would you say to those people who are thinking, first of all, about whether they should bother getting on the registry, and then, secondly, whether they should stick with it?
Yeah, when I had the call and the decision, I just thought if it was my family member, what would they do? And I think that is something that has stuck with me through all of this. If it was my mom and they had one match, even halfway across the world, I would be devastated if they backed out. So I think it's important that we all care a little bit more about each other and not so much about ourselves.
They say this time of year it's better to give than to receive, but I don't think you can choose between those two people's remarkable stories and how much they mean to each other. Gennaro Arapanese and his bone marrow donor, Cassidy Feeney, talking to NewsHour's Tim Franks here on the BBC World Service. Coming up, roll up, all the fun of the annual NewsHour quiz.
Was this the BBC?
Transparency.
Yes.
It's not the BBC, no.
But it could have been the BBC.
I couldn't possibly comment.
But that does mean they lose a point.
It does mean they lose a point, and it does mean...
Unless we can play Gujarat Achendrabat.
Yeah.
No, you
played
it with the Labubu.
You can't play
That was your little boo-boo with the Labubu.
Oh, it's kicking off. Wonderful.
I'm not sure I can remember what any of that was about, but I'm going to have my memory refreshed in the second half of the programme with our end-of-year news quiz with James Kumarasamy in the Quizmasters chair, Rebecca Kesby, James Menendez and Tim Franks. That's coming up here on NewsHour from the BBC World Service. Do stay with us. This is Sean Lay with NewsHour, coming to you live from the BBC studios in London. Pope Leo has been celebrating his first Christmas as head of the Roman Catholic Church. Since his election in May from among the Church's cardinals, Leo has often attracted adjectives such as understated and reserved. But today's sermon at St. Peter's Basilica was noticeably forceful. He made this reference to the continued suffering in Gaza.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, poiché il verbo si fece carne.
Dear brothers and sisters, since the Word was made flesh, humanity now speaks, crying out with God's own desire to encounter us. The Word has pitched his fragile tent among us. How then can we not think of the tents in Gaza, exposed for weeks to rain, wind and cold, and of those of so many other refugees and displaced people on every continent, or of the makeshift shelters of thousands of homeless people in our own cities?
And Pope Leo took aim at the puffed-up hypocrisy of those leaders who fuel wars by sending the young into battle.
Fragile is the flesh of defenseless populations tried by so many wars, ongoing or concluded, leaving behind rubble and open wounds. Fragile are the minds and lives of young people forced to take up arms, who on the front lines feel the senselessness of what is asked of them and the falsehoods that fill the pompous speeches of those who send them to their deaths.
One of those watching as Leo delivered his Christmas homily was Elisa Ann Allen, a senior correspondent at Crux, that's a Catholic news website. She's also the author of Leo XIV, Citizen of the World, Missionary of the 21st Century, a biography of the new Pope.
This is significant because it is his first Christmas message as Pope. His message really was one of what he said at the beginning of his papacy. It was one of peace, but it was also a call to conscience. You know, he was calling the world to examine their own conscience in terms of, you know, what they're doing. Today, his message during Mass this morning was really a reflection on what are we doing? You know, are we taking care of each other as human beings? And are we owning our own responsibility in terms of making things better or worse? His message was really one of let's forget the politics involved and let's remember that they're human beings here and that our calculus in terms of what we should do should be focused on that.
In terms of his delivery, the way he presented his speech, his presence, if you like, as a performer, as the visible leader of the Catholic Church, how big a contrast was it with Francis?
You know, I think Pope Francis and Pope Leo have very different styles, you know, and I've been telling people from the very beginning that Leo is going to be, you know, he's going to be on message in terms of, you know, what Francis preached. You know, Pope Leo is going to preach very much the same message. It's not that he's going to change the tone or the messaging, but he's going to be more well received because of the way he says it. So it's not the message, it's the delivery.
They are both popes of the Americas. Leo, obviously, a North American, but having spent a lot of time in South America, Francis, having been born in South America. Does that matter, do you think, in terms of the future of the Church, that he has an experience that isn't the European experience of so many popes up until very recently?
That's a very good question, Sean, and I think it's very important for the future of the church, actually. This is a frequent criticism of many people and many Catholics, but also bishops and even cardinals from the global south. Up until recently, the church has tended to be very Eurocentric or very Western-centric, overly Western in its view and in its perspective and therefore in its policies and in its approach and its language. Pope Francis changed all of that. He was the first pope from the global south, and suddenly he was bringing in issues and a perspective that had never before had that kind of platform that it did. And so the fact that Leo is coming in now and also has such a wealth of experience in the global south, not only because of his 30 years, as a missionary in Peru, but also as head of his Augustinian order, he traveled the world. The biggest Augustinian provinces, the biggest is in Spain right now, but the two that are growing the fastest after that are Nigeria in Africa and Cebu in the Philippines. So he is somebody who's traveled extensively the global south and knows it very well. And this is where the church is growing. Places like Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Increasingly, the Catholic Church is not a Western institution, but a Southern one. It's, I think by 2050, something like that, 2/3 of the world's Catholics are going to be in the global south. And what does that mean? And what does it mean then, and how important is it that there's a pope that brings that perspective? And I think Leo and his papacy, what he is going to do in what will probably be a very long papacy, will help that to be understood.
That's Elisa Ann Allen, senior correspondent at Crux, the Catholic News website. Well, it's been a rough year for Hollywood. It ends as it began, with uncertainty, this time over the future of Warner Brothers, one of the major studios in Hollywood. The BBC's Tom Brooke has been covering the film industry and cinema, practically since the silent era, and he's been looking back at 2025's hits and misses.
A challenging year for Hollywood, with destructive wildfires in Los Angeles in January, an ongoing slump in production, and the uncertainty posed by AI. But movies still made it into cinemas.
Anything you can dream about, you can create.
A film inspired by a hit video game, a Minecraft movie. An adventure in a world made of square blocks was Hollywood's biggest domestic earner.
It's time to go.
The basic problem of 2025, one which confronted me nearly every time I went to the movies, people were just not coming to the cinema in sufficient numbers. Those who love moviegoing, including London-based director Kevin MacDonald, were concerned.
You only need to look at the box office results almost any weekend this year, and they're mind-bogglingly awful. And even films which seem like they should be huge hits, you do wonder how long the Hollywood system or how long theatrical films can last.
I have to help my family. Cannonball!
And even end-of-the-year successes like Zootopia 2, a sequel to Disney's 2016 animated hit, and the musical film Wicked for Good won't be enough to bring 2025 US box office above pre-COVID levels.
And you look so lost.
But there were moments of brightness in 2025. One battle after another, an action film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, laden with political and social satire, became the best-reviewed film of the year. Made by Paul Thomas Anderson, it has the feel of a vibrant independent movie, although backed by a Hollywood studio. It's become an Academy Awards frontrunner, but it's not without its problems. It's estimated it could lose $100 million, reinforcing the view that all is not well with prevailing business models in Hollywood. Jake Coyle is a film writer and critic for the Associated Press.
We might, for the first time, have a Best Picture winner at the Oscars that lost a lot of money.
Let's get that already.
And it was a Korean-inspired but Hollywood-made animated musical, K-pop Demon Hunters, that became the most watched movie ever on Netflix. And interestingly, 2025's biggest global hit in cinemas came not from the US but from China. Nuzha 2, an animated fantasy drawing on Chinese mythology, made $2 billion, more than any other film on the planet. And December brought uncertainty to the movie world with news of competing efforts by Netflix and Paramount to take over Warner Brothers, one of Hollywood's oldest studios. The acquisition is yet to be approved. In some quarters, claims were made that consolidation in Hollywood could pose a threat to freedom of expression. Like others, what I craved on screen in 2025 was creativity and originality. I'm somehow optimistic that vibrant cinema will prevail.
Tom Brooke in where else at this time of the year? Tinseltown.
With bbc.com/news, you get the latest news stories anytime you like. bbc.com/news offers you the most comprehensive news coverage in the world, and its stories are easy to search and navigate. Whether you're interested in science, health, technology or business, the bbc.com/news website can offer it all. It also gives you the opportunity to listen live to our news output or check the latest breaking news with our minute-by-minute news feed. If you want to take the news with you, we offer you downloadable podcasts to listen at your convenience, or archive programming so you can catch up on the programs you've missed. Or you can access bbc.com/news on your mobile phone. bbc.com/news also lets you give feedback direct to our program teams. All this content, coverage and opportunity makes the BBC the world leader in news coverage online. bbc.com/news.
2025 is almost at an end, which means it's time once again for two teams of NewsHour presenters to battle it out for News Quiz glory. Join me, James Kamarasamy, as I put Tim Franks, Sean Lay, Rebecca Kesby and James Menendez through their paces. How much of the year's news will they be able to recall? How much will you? Find out in the annual NewsHour quiz after the news.
BBC News, I'm John Shea. Ukraine says it's hit a Russian oil refinery in the southern region of Rostov with cruise missiles. The facility is crucial for supplying fuel for Russian military operations. The Israeli military says it's killed a senior member of Iran's powerful Quds force in Lebanon. The Quds force is the overseas arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guards and has played a significant role in many regional conflicts from Syria to Yemen. Polls have closed in municipal elections in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, the first direct elections in the country in more than 50 years. The vote, held amid tight security, was largely peaceful. It's being seen as a test run for national elections next year. The former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, has endorsed his son Flavio for his presidential bid in 2026. The endorsement letter was read out by Flavio in front of a hospital in the city of Brasilia, where his father underwent a scheduled operation. A Catholic diocese in Nigeria has said that all school children and teachers who were kidnapped last month from their school have been accounted for and reunited with their families. The French President Emmanuel Macron's office says he's fully engaged in securing the release of the French researcher Laurent Vinatier from a Russian prison, while insisting at the same time that he was being held arbitrarily. Russia earlier said it had made a proposal to France about negotiating Mr. Vinatier's release. Christian and human rights organisations have expressed alarm over alleged attempts by Hindu extremist groups to disrupt Christmas celebrations in India. The Catholic Bishops' Conference said it had recorded several incidents involving harassment of carol singers and church congregations. And Pope Leo has used two Christmas Day addresses to call for peace and denounce war. He singled out the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the humanitarian situation in Gaza. He also prayed for peace in Sudan and Congo and urged Europe to be faithful to its Christian roots. BBC News.
2025 is almost at an end, which means it's time for our annual look back at the year in news. Please put your hands together for your quizmaster, BBC News Hour's James Kumarasamy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to the annual BBC World Service end-of-year news quiz. You don't really need me to tell you what goes on, do you? You've heard it before. But anyway, just in case you haven't, I'll be putting two teams of NewsHour presenters to the test. So, let's welcome back to my left, Tim Franks and Rebecca Kesby. How's 2025 been for you both?
Up to now, terrific.
I'm here with a clean mind, by which I mean it's blank. I can remember nothing, so I'm just putting that out there at the start.
Good. And to my right, member of last year's winning team, James Menendez, and a newcomer, the new boy, Sean Lay. Sean, how are you feeling?
Terrified, if I'm honest.
Now, look, I mean, in full disclosure, and we are very transparent on the BBC World Service.
Let's not be too transparent.
Well, no, I was travelling into this today, and who should sidle up to me on the platform of the tube station?
Pure coincidence.
A familiar figure wearing a familiar hat. And listeners might not know about Sean's predilection for hats, but there he was. And I can say with a clean conscience, Sean did not once offer me a bribe or any kind of inducement to get any of the questions. So,
well, it's good that you've got, he told you to say that as well.
Exactly. Could be a double bluff. Could be a double bluff. We'll find out. We're going to start, as we normally do, with the obituary round, and you're about to hear the voices of 10 people who died during 2025. Pens at the ready, teams. Here we go.
The songs just poured out of us. Right here over the speakers, I go, let me hear the bass and the drums, please. How the guitar. Al, let me hear your voice, And we ping pong back and forth.
Let us remember the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
I always refuse to do sins naked. Always. They asked me, many. I said no. I don't want to sell my body, and I want to be judged on the acting.
One of the things I always thought was great about European films is that they let people grow older. They let people age gracefully in the way they were supposed to, the way I tried to. Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like doing a film where you put a lot into it and then somebody talks about whether you're aging or whether you have wrinkles.
This Mario in the novel starts his life with the beginning of the novel, and his life ends at the end of the novel. The raw material of the character is autobiographical.
Hello, basically.
For decades, ruling class leaders in both parties sold out our future to China, to faceless corporations, and to self-serving lobbyists.
Yesterday, our budding democracy suffered a major setback. As a result, Kenya faces a grave legal and political crisis.
The voices of 10 people who passed away during 2025. How many did you get? How did our teams do? Well, we will be finding out later on in this half hour. Now, let's test your buzzers. Tim and Rebecca. A familiar sound to those of us around here used to interviewing people over internet connections. That was an early version of the Skype ringtone. Microsoft, which brought the company in 2011, retired the video calling software in May. So let's have a listen to the other team's buzzer. And it is indeed the other part of the Skype ringtone. I'm sure you can tell it exactly. The lightning round is the round that we start with. No starter question, just buzz in for each question if you know the answer. And your time starts now. First question. In February's Bundestag election in Germany, Friedrich Merz's Conservatives won the largest number of seats, but which party came second? James and Sean.
Alternative for Deutschland.
It is indeed. AfD, Alternative for Germany. He's off. He's out of the blocks. Sean Lay.
We are allowed to consult, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
We're a team.
It is.
It's usually we're already
exactly. Anyway, question 2. In which month of 2025 did this rather famous and ill-tempered exchange take place?
With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't know you play.
Tim and Rebecca?
February.
Correct. February the 28th. It was the Oval Office exchange, of course, involving President Zelensky of Ukraine, President Trump. Next question. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh describes himself as the luckiest man alive after being the sole survivor of an Air India plane crash on the 12th of June, which had just taken off from an airport. James and Sean.
Gujarat, India.
In which Indian city?
Ahmedabad.
We are in tricky territory now.
Are we?
Do we have to you answered something else, but you didn't answer before that.
But ultimately, I got there, which, like most of my programs.
And it is a team effort, after all, as I've been reminded. And it's Christmas.
It's Christmas, so we're being generous.
I'd be happy to grant my opponents a similar mulligan later.
Very good.
on.
Okay, good. I mean, they're silent, those two, the other two.
They're silently thieving.
Okay, next question.
They're smiling.
We're just storing up that one.
That's fine.
When it counts, and there's a 5-pointer in it.
Yeah.
No, 1 point.
Yeah, okay. Next question. In Les Miserables, Frenchman Jean Valjean is famously prisoner number 24601. Prisoner 320535 was the number given to which high-profile Frenchman who was incarcerated this year, and it's Tim and Rebecca.
Oh, hang on, we've got to confer. Yes, exactly. That's what I meant. Yes. Sarkozy.
Indeed. The verdict from which other high-profile trial of 2025 are these people responding to?
It wasn't shocking. We knew that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of...
Tim and Rebecca?
This is the mushroom trial of the baker that killed members of her family by poisoning I think it was a beef Wellington, but it was the mushroom element of the beef Wellington which goes inside the pastry, which was lethal.
You are on fire. Now, in November, the return to Earth of 3 taikonauts from China's Tiangong space station was delayed by just over a week. For what reason? Tim and Rebecca.
The previous return vehicle had been used to rescue some others.
That's not right.
They'd forgotten to pack their lunch.
It's a very, very unlikely but would be splendid correct answer if it was. No, it's not. The answer is a window on their spacecraft's return capsule was cracked. It's thought by a tiny piece of fast-moving space debris. What incident caught on camera in February is being described here?
Cuando volteo no veo a Adrián.
When I turn around, I don't see Adrian, my son. I don't see him, and I don't see the boat. So I was surprised.
That's Sean and James.
Claimed he'd been swallowed.
Yeah, that's
only
right.
Claimed he'd been swallowed by a whale, and his father was filming it.
Yes, they were kayaking, weren't they? That's right. Argentina, I think they were Argentinian, yes.
Very good. Del Simancas describing the moment his son Adrian was swallowed by a humpback whale while kayaking off Chile's Patagonian coast, and then spat back out.
Not tasty enough.
Which toy craze, which has nearly tripled profits for its makers and sparked a global counterfeiting industry, is being described here?
Are they cool?
It's metal, so you can attach it to your bag or your... Imagine it's on your camera.
What are they called?
Tim and Rebecca.
Right, I'm going out on a limb here. Is it like Lubu or...
Yeah,
or
I think you're
it's like a jelly cat type of...
I think there are 3...
That is
Valubu.
Close enough. It's Labubu.
Labubu.
Yeah, very good. Small elf-like creatures often seen hanging from handbags. So that is the end of the lightning round. Now we're going to stick with the festive tradition because, despite the fact that he retired earlier this year, we couldn't help but bring back
Grandpa Julian's Bedtime Stories.
That's right, Grandpa Julian Marshall has taken time away from all his travel, tending to his allotment, tending to his grandkids to give us a fresh selection of his bedtime stories. Each one alludes to a story that's been in the news during 2025. It's your job to buzz in on time when you think you know what that story is. You'll gain a point if you're right, but you'll lose a point if you're wrong. There is jeopardy.
Jeopardy, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm very bad at this round, actually.
Snuggle up, folks. Here is your first one.
There once were some people who projected a happy glow as they went into town to take in a musical show. As the group played their hits, there was nothing to see here, until the lead singer of the band had a fun idea. Let's highlight the smiles and joyous abandon of the crowds gathered here. Let's pick someone at random to highlight with glee.
Tim and Rebecca.
I know what this is.
Coldplay.
Yes.
Yeah. Coldplay, and they had a kiss cam.
Yeah.
And the kiss cam alighted on a couple, except they weren't a couple. They were colleagues kissing.
Well, in the interest of accuracy, I mean, you're right, but in the interest of accuracy, they weren't kissing, they were just sort of holding, and they, of course, immediately ducked and turned away from the camera for some reason. Interesting.
Shy.
Anyway, let's get to another bedtime story.
Once an institution that had made many quite cross was caught up in scandal and needed to find a new boss.
Is this the BBC?
After centuries of tradition and being led exclusively by...
Do tell, Tim.
You pointed.
Yes.
Are we going to thoroughly wash our linen in public here? Was this the BBC?
Transparency.
Yes, transparency.
It's not the BBC, no.
But it could have been the BBC.
I couldn't possibly comment.
But that does mean they lose a point.
It does mean they lose a point, and it does mean...
Unless we can play Gujarat Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
No, you played it with the Labubu's. That was your little boo-boo. With the Labubu.
Oh, it's kicking off. Wonderful. But let's listen back. We want to hear a bit more of Julian Marshall.
After centuries of tradition and being led exclusively by men, it was time for a change. Let's allow a woman to say amen. So the word...
This is for James and Sean.
The new Archbishop of Canterbury.
That is correct. Name?
Yes.
Sarah Mullally.
Yes.
Sarah Mullally does not get the point back that you just lost, Tim. But you are correct. You are correct, Sarah Mullally. One more story to identify from the dulcet tones of Mr. Julian Marshall.
Once long ago in a land far away was the court of a kingdom in which performers held sway. The crowds gathered at tourney grounds to watch the athletes play sports and swooned at the performances of the singers at court. One day on a scroll, the word went out like a shot. Two of the land's most famous celebrities were tying the knot. A chief from a city who dominates on the field.
Tim and Rebecca.
Oh, yeah, nice one.
I think this is the breaking news this year that Taylor Swift and her now fiancé is a massive football player.
Yes.
And his name
the Kansas City
is...
Chiefs.
It's not Trevor, is it?
It's Travis.
Travis.
Kelsey.
Travis and Taylor.
Well, look, well done. We're going to move to what is the arts and culture round. So we're in the same space. Fingers on buzzers for your starter question. Which author who made a return to publishing fiction this year is speaking here?
There was no fiction in my head for quite a while after the attack. But
James and Sean.
Salman Rushdie, I think, isn't it?
It is indeed Salman Rushdie speaking to yours truly about the first fiction he has published since he was stabbed while appearing on stage in 2022. So this one goes to James and Sean. Question 2. Former Succession star Sarah Snook this year won the Tony Award for Best Leading Actress in a play for her one-woman stage adaptation of which novel?
Portrait of Dorian Gray, wasn't it?
The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Picture of Dorian Gray, sorry, the Picture of Dorian Gray. Yeah.
It was indeed Oscar Wilde's Picture of Dorian Gray. Well done. Now to television. Have a listen to this.
It's been a crazy progression, I feel like, right, over the past many years of seeing K-pop grow, but I think this is just another level of global dominance.
Okay, that is Audrey Nuno, one of the singers who lent their voices to the fictional K-pop girl band Huntrix. The band featured in Netflix's most watched animated film of all time. But what is the film called?
K-pop Demon Hunters, isn't it? I think K-pop Demon Hunters.
Obs. Yeah, very good. I'm trying to beat down with it, but yeah. He's the most K-poppy of all of us. Mr. Menendez got that right. And finally, to the movies. In February, the two long-running producers of the James Bond series franchise handed over creative control of the films to Amazon MGM Studios. For 1 point, can you name either of those producers, both of whom are related to the man who launched the film series in 1962 with Dr. No need to buzz in.
I know, but I just like
the
film.
You do. I know you do.
Addicted to it. Barbara Broccoli.
Correct. Any idea who the other one is?
No.
It's Michael G. Wilson. Yeah, they're the daughter and stepson of Albert Cubby Broccoli. Now it is that time again. That's it. It's time to hear from 2025's mystery guest. We are joined on the line by someone who in one way or another was associated with one of the big news stories of the year. Each team gets an opportunity to ask a yes or no question. I'm going to kick things off with the very first question. Mystery guest, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
First of all, hello. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. Was this a good news story that you were involved in?
Yes.
I would say our mystery guest is absolutely right in the way he has characterised his involvement in the story, but I think it might set you down a slightly wrong path, but he was involved in this story in a very specific way.
So that clue then means that this is not necessarily a good news story for everybody impacted. Would that be correct, Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Was this news event, was it expected or a surprise breaking news event? So in that way, I will say,
yes or no?
was this event an expected event?
Would you describe yourself as a member of the public, ordinarily? I mean, what you did that go viral, as they say?
Yes. Were you somewhere where something happened in front of you, and what has made you famous this year is how you reacted to that thing happening in front of you?
Yes and no.
Yeah, he's right. It is yes and no. He was there, and he was pictured at this event.
Did you go viral because of what you were wearing?
Yes.
Famously hat-wearing Sean Leigh.
The hat.
You got the right idea.
But I don't know specifically which hat and what event. That's the thing. I'm sorry, it's in my head. I just can't get it out.
I know.
We'll break with tradition, and the mystery guest, you will tell our clearly clueless colleague
Always.
Sorry.
why you were in the news this year.
I went with my mom and my grandpa to the Louvre. And that day...
It's the very dapperly dressed man.
Oh, you're
the Sherlock Holmes.
So they all did know about you.
It was one of the most memorable photos of the year.
And you also sound considerably older than 15.
You did look great, though, I've got to say. What an outfit.
Pedro Elias Gasson Delvaux, have I pronounced it correctly? What a great name, great
outfit,
sense of
great story,
sartorial elegance, and
excellent command of English as well.
Absolutely.
And are you a detective in any way?
No, I'm not at all.
And for those listening who don't know, this was the young man, 15 years old. He appeared in the photos, at the Louvre the day of the heist, and he was known as the Fedora Man.
That's it, it was a fedora.
Fedora Man, yes. You've got a fedora, you sure?
No, I've got a Homburg.
A Homburg, okay, sorry, I got my hats wrong. But anyway,
the best dressed man of 2025, I think.
The best dressed man of 2025, who kindly, then we have to thank your teachers, has taken time out from the school day
bless you.
to be on the line with us.
It's very puzzling. I have to say, I thought from the photo, I thought you were sort of in your early 20s at the youngest. But anyway, you're a very mature young man.
Have you thought about going into the law in any way? Any sort of police detective work?
But you are a Poirot fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
Pedro, can you tell us what you're missing to take part in the NewsHour quiz today?
Economy.
Oh, well, okay.
It's a small price to pay.
Yeah.
Pedro, what's it been like to become this sort of viral sensation? How has it been for the last few months?
Like, it was very funny and like unexpected. A lot of friends of mine were questioning me, how did you do that? Like, you were wearing, like, the guy took a picture of you.
But that was just what you wear normally. You were just there with your family.
Is that what you wear to school,
exactly.
Pedro?
Well, like, it's funny because before the photo, I was wearing this, like, once a week. But, like, right now, it's all the time.
Yeah.
Very good. It's
any
trademark
modelling contracts coming your way?
Well, that's the trouble now, isn't it? They're going to be snapping you, if you're wearing a jogging outfit or something. That's, you've raised the standards.
Yes.
Well, look, we are going to have to let you get back to class. Thanks for being a great sport. Pedro Elias Gasson Delvaux, our mystery guest, and definitely the most dapper one we've had on the NewsHour quiz.
Merci bien.
Au revoir, Pedro.
Au revoir. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Now, it is time to get the answers to our obituary round. Earlier, you heard the voices of 10 people who passed away during 2025. Now, teams, have you swapped your sheets with your partner and the other teams? First one, the Beach Boys legend Brian Wilson, who died at the age of 82. Pope Francis, the first Latin American leader of the Roman Catholic Church, who died at the age of 88. The actress Claudia Cardinali. I'm looking at one of our colleagues called
Claudia,
Claudia through the window.
Claudia.
Claudia Cardinali, the Tunisian-born Italian star of The Leopard, 8.5, and The Pink Panther, amongst other things. She was 87.
Wrong.
Thank you.
Next, the Hollywood... He's Sean sounding very happy there. Hollywood legend Robert Redford, star, of course.
No, I like the heart.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, All the President's Men, founder of the Sundance Film Festival.
Let's not go there.
Died at the age of 89. Singing the first time ever I saw your face. R&B artist Roberta Flack. She was 88. We heard from the giant of Latin American literature, novelist Mario Vargas Llosa. Llosa. Thanks, James. I knew you'd look me in the eye, and as soon as I got the pronunciation wrong, he died at the age of 89 in his native Peru. Fun Kumarasamy fact, his granddaughter was in my daughter's school when I lived in Washington for the BBC. He used to turn up occasionally. I was far too intimidated ever to come. We heard from the British animal rights campaigner and chimpanzee expert and impersonator Jane Goodall. We heard from the right-wing American activist and influencer Charlie Kirk, who was shot dead at the age of 31. The former Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and the Jamaican musician Jimmy Cliff, one of the most prominent and beloved proponents of reggae, died at the age of 81.
Where was
I think we both
Ozzy Osbourne on that?
Yeah, I know. Where was Ozzy? Anyway, 9 out of 10 for you guys. Well done.
9 out of 10 for you.
Well done. Right, just before we get to the sort of final scores, we do have one more question to answer, but it has the potential to change the game because there are lots of points up for grabs. It is...
Right.
We've got to go for it,
We'll
haven't
need
we?
it to be 20 points to have a chance of
Okay,
tying.
well, let's see. It is the return of perhaps our most high-stakes round ever. The news auction.
Sold to the News Hour presenters up the back.
Which is where you usually find us.
Yes, exactly. Well, there is just one question, one lot up for auction this year, so do listen carefully. In a post on X on the 14th of October titled The President of Peace, the US State Department claimed that Donald Trump had ended 8 wars in 8 months.
Oh, I know this. Yeah. We can do this, Tim.
Gosh, you don't know. How do you know?
No buzzing.
The questions,
no
Tim?
buzzing.
Oh.
The question is, how many of the wars listed in that post can you safely name? Here's a hint. It's 7 wars he claims to have ended in his address to the UN General Assembly in September, plus another one. And this is how it's going to work. Tim and Rebecca, you may be confident of maybe getting 5 of them. James and Sean, perhaps you think 6. If you say 6, Tim and Rebecca have the option to bid to 7.
This is a nightmare.
Yeah. Whoever has the winning bid, so say you get all 8 and you give me 8 correct answers, you get the full 8 points. But if you get even one of your 8 answers wrong, you will lose 8 points.
Oh, my goodness.
No pressure, man.
Yep.
Wow.
Who dares wins.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, before I take your bids, you can confer with your team.
Okay, gosh, this is a...
I'm writing them down.
Easily 7. Yep.
Well, has he definitely claimed that one?
Well, that's what he has to do. You've got up to 8. Yep, that's it.
Right, we are going to flip a coin again to see who gets to make the opening bid.
I'm going to go heads.
Heads it is. Tim and Rebecca get to make the opening bid.
8.
Going for broke.
Don't think we can do that.
Let's save our blushes, that's fine, yeah.
How many have you got? What were you going to say?
I mean, you know, pretty much 8, actually.
Well, let's round it up first.
So, okay, 8. Let's go for it then.
Kosovo, Serbia.
Yep.
Correct.
Azerbaijan, Armenia.
Egypt, Ethiopia.
Israel appears twice, we reckon.
Well,
so Israel, Gaza, and also
Israel, Iran.
Correct.
DRC and Rwanda.
Correct.
India, Pakistan.
Correct.
Thailand and Cambodia.
Correct.
Is that 8? Thank you very much. Almost certainly it's still lost.
I don't know. No, I don't.
And that is the end of this year's quiz. All that remains now is to give you the scores on the doors. James and Sean. 20.5. Tim and Rebecca. 22. The auction won it.
Oh, that was the one.
That final round.
A game changer.
Yeah. Well done. Point out how badly we were trading that time.
Yeah. Well.
No, let's not point that out.
Checks all round.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Look, thank you all.
And they
Tim
paid for
Frank.
dinner gone as well, Jamie.
Yep, thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, very.
Gentlemen,
Thank you. Tim Franks, Rebecca Kesby, James Menendez, Sean Lay. I'm James Tamarasamy, the producer, as always, the fabulous Paul Schuster. And whatever you're doing today, thanks for spending some of this year with us. Until next year, from all of us here at NewsHour. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy New Year.